Let's talk about Iran, but we're not going to do it by looking at the day-to-day headlines. Instead, we're going to try to understand its entire 4,000-year history through just one really powerful and kind of paradoxical idea.
Okay, this right here. This is the key to the whole thing. The entire story we're about to unpack really hinges on this one sentence. It helps us see Iran's history not as a bunch of different endings and beginnings, but as one continuous story of incredible adaptation. This is the secret to its survival. All right, so where does this amazing resilience even come from? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go way, way back to the very beginning, to the founder of the First Persian Empire and the unique philosophy he built it on. Meet Cyrus the Great. Now, what made this guy a total genius wasn't just the sheer scale of his conquests, it was how he governed. Instead of crushing the cultures of the people he conquered, he did the exact opposite. He actually freed captive peoples like the Jews in Babylon, and he made a point of respecting their local customs. This wasn't just him being a nice guy, it was a brilliant strategy that built this incredibly strong civilizational identity, one that would prove to be almost indestructible. Okay, and this is where that identity gets put to the test, over and over again. We're going to look at this recurring pattern that is just so central to understanding Iran. Its unbelievable ability to basically swallow its conquerors, culturally speaking. So, first example, Alexander the Great. He marches in, burns the magnificent city of Persepolis right to the ground, and then a really funny thing happened. He started acting Persian. He adopted their royal robes, their court customs, he even married into the Persian nobility. It's like the conqueror was, in a very real way, culturally conquered. Okay, let's fast forward a few centuries to the next wave. When Arab armies brought the new religion of Islam, Persia adopted it. But, and this is the absolute crucial part, it made Islam Persian. It was Persian scholars, Persian poets, and Persian scientists who became the intellectual engine of the entire Islamic Golden Age. But the ultimate test? Wow, that had to be the Mongols. They were just ruthless. They destroyed entire cities, killed millions. It should have been a civilization-ending event, period. And yet, it's maybe the most brilliant illustration of this pattern. Within just 3 generations, the Mongol rulers in Persia were speaking the Persian language and were the biggest patrons of Persian art. They had been completely and totally absorbed. So just look at this timeline. It lays it all out, right? For almost 2,000 years, 3 of history's most powerful invaders, the Greeks, the Arabs, the Mongols, they all came to conquer. And every single one of them was ultimately transformed by the very culture they tried to erase. But then, as we get into the modern era, the threat completely changes. It's not about armies on horseback marching across the border anymore. No, this was a new kind of challenge, covert foreign interference, and the long, painful legacy of a stolen democracy. To really get the shock of what happened next, you first have to appreciate what Iran was. Just take a look at this. It's a glimpse of Safavid-era Isfahan, a culture at its absolute artistic peak. We're talking mosques with these just breathtaking spirals of turquoise, gold, and lapis lazuli. And then you have this number, 16%. While Britain was pulling in billions in profits from Iranian oil through the company that would later become BP, this is the cut Iran received, 16%. It's just a stark, brutal symbol of colonial exploitation. Well, that exploitation is exactly what led Iran's democratically elected prime minister, a man named Mohammad Mossadegh, to finally say enough and nationalize the oil industry. The response from the West was this, Operation Ajax, a joint covert op by the CIA and MI6 in 1953 designed to do one thing, overthrow him. This single event poisoned Iran's relationship with the West for the next century. And what's so wild about it is just how, well, clinical it was. This wasn't a war, it was a step-by-step playbook. The CIA came in with cash, they bribed newspapers to run propaganda, they paid street gangs to start riots, and they recruited key military officers. And just like that, in a matter of days, poof, Iran's elected government was gone. And that act, it didn't just end a government. It planted the seeds for literally everything that would follow. You can draw a straight, unbroken line from that stolen democracy to the revolution and the resistance we see today. So, the huge takeaway here is that the 1979 Islamic Revolution did not happen in a vacuum. It was the direct consequence of 1953. That coup led to 26 years of the Shah's brutal, CIA-backed dictatorship, complete with his feared secret police, the Savak. The revolution was a massive backlash, fueled by a lesson that was seared into the national memory.
that sovereignty isn't given to you, it has to be seized and probably by force.
And that struggle for sovereignty is still going on, but now it has turned inward. In September of 2022, the death of a young woman, Mahsa Amini, while she was in the custody of the so-called morality police, became the spark that lit a fire. It kicked off the largest uprising in the history of the Islamic Republic.
And that uprising had a voice, a chant, captured in these three incredibly powerful words: Zen, Zendagi, Azadi, woman, life, freedom. It became the rallying cry for a whole new generation, a generation that crossed a line of fear that, really, you can't uncross.
Now that brings us to the volatile present. The source material we're working from here actually projects a timeline forward, speculating that years of proxy wars and a damaged nuclear program could culminate in a direct strike in February 2026 that kills the supreme leader, leaving the country's future totally and completely up in the air.
And so that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. Through all of this, ancient conquests, colonial meddling, revolution, and brutal crackdowns, Iran has endured. It's still here. So the real question isn't whether Iran is going to survive. History tells us it will. The real question is, after all this, what is it going to transform into next?